I was 32 years old when my entire world collapsed into a single text message. 3 years with Jessica, countless memories, a mortgage together, and wedding plans just 2 months away. Our venue was booked. Her dress was purchased. My tux was fitted. Then my phone buzzed during a client meeting. I stared at the words on my screen. "I am having your friend Tyler's baby. He is going to be a father." What followed was even more unbelievable. Before I tell you how my perfect future shattered in just one text message, let me know where you are watching from. Hit subscribe if you want to hear how I rebuilt my life after the ultimate betrayal. My life before that text was everything I had worked for. I had a stable career as a civil engineer at one of the top firms in Boston. My projects were going well and I was on track for a promotion within the next year. I took pride in my work and the structures I helped design, knowing they would stand the test of time. If only my relationship had been built on such solid foundation. Jessica and I met at a mutual friend's birthday party 3 years ago. She walked into the room in a blue dress, and I could not take my eyes off her. She was confident, outgoing, and had this infectious laugh that made everyone around her smile. When our eyes met across the room, there was an immediate connection. By the end of the night, we had exchanged numbers, and I called her the very next day. Our relationship moved quickly. We went from dating to practically living together within months. I was captivated by her spontaneity, her passion for life, her ability to light up any room she entered. After 8 months, I gave her a key to my apartment, and we officially moved in together. Life seemed perfect. We complemented each other well. Where I was methodical and sometimes too focused on details, Jessica was creative and free-spirited. I thought we balanced each other perfectly. The proposal happened on our 2nd anniversary. I took her back to the restaurant where we had our first date, got down on one knee, and asked her to spend her life with me. The entire restaurant applauded as she said yes with tears in her eyes. That was the happiest night of my life. Looking back, I wonder if it was genuine or just another performance. Wedding planning consumed our lives for the next year. We had set the date, booked a beautiful vineyard venue outside the city, selected the caterer, the flowers, the band, everything down to the personalized cocktail napkins. $30,000 in non-refundable deposits. A honeymoon planned for 2 weeks in Italy. Everyone talked about what a perfect couple we were, how lucky we were to have found each other. Tyler had been my friend since college. We met in freshman year engineering class and bonded over late-night study sessions and shared ambition. Even as our careers took different paths, me in civil engineering and him in software development, we remained close. When Jessica first met Tyler at a barbecue I hosted shortly after we started dating, she seemed almost instantly disinterested in him. She later told me she thought he was arrogant and self-centered. I was surprised because that was not the Tyler I knew. But I wanted the most important people in my life to get along. So I encouraged their friendship, invited Tyler over more often, included him in our weekend plans. Gradually, Jessica seemed to warm up to him. In fact, over the past year, they appeared to develop their own friendship. There were inside jokes I did not understand. Conversations that stopped when I entered the room. I thought nothing of it. I was happy they were getting along. There were signs, of course. There always are in hindsight. Jessica became more secretive with her phone, always keeping it face down. She started working late more frequently, coming home smelling of unfamiliar cologne. Small inconsistencies in her stories about where she had been. But I trusted her completely. I attributed her distraction to wedding stress to her demanding job in marketing. I never once suspected she would betray me, especially not with Tyler. That Tuesday seemed like any other day. I had an important meeting with clients about a new commercial development. My phone was on vibrate in my pocket as I presented blueprints and discussed structural specifications. When it buzzed, I ignored it initially. Then it buzzed again repeatedly. Concerned it might be an emergency, I discreetly checked during a colleague's portion of the presentation. The text from Jessica stared back at me. "I am having your friend Tyler's baby. He is going to be a father." My hands began to shake so badly I nearly dropped my phone. I read it again, thinking it must be some cruel joke or a mistake. Then more messages followed. I did not mean for this to happen, but all men get obsessive around me. You set me up to fail by bringing him into our lives. We need to talk about how you are going to support me through this." I mumbled something about a family emergency and stumbled out of the conference room. In the hallway, I tried calling Jessica. No answer. I called again. Still nothing. More texts from her appeared. "This is really your fault when you think about it. If you had been more attentive, this would not have happened. I still want to get married. We can work through this." I do not remember the drive home. I was functioning on autopilot, my mind unable to process what was happening. The life I had planned, the future I had built, all crumbling around me because of a text message I never could have anticipated. When I walked through our front door, I half expected to find Jessica in tears, remorseful, ready to explain that it was all a terrible mistake. Instead, she was lounging on our couch, scrolling through her phone, a rerun of some reality show playing on the television. She looked up casually, as if she had not just detonated a nuclear bomb in our relationship. "Hey," she said, as if it were any normal day. "I thought you had that big meeting this afternoon." I stood in the doorway, keys still in my hand, staring at her. This woman, who I had planned to spend my life with, suddenly seemed like a stranger. "Did you send me those texts?" I finally managed to ask, my voice hardly recognizable. She set her phone down and sighed, as if preparing to explain something tedious to a child. "Yes, I thought you should know before the wedding. Tyler and I did not plan this. You are pregnant with my best friend's baby, and you are acting like you just told me you dented the car." I could hear my voice rising with each word. Jessica rolled her eyes. "This is exactly why I texted instead of telling you in person. You always get so emotional." What followed was the most surreal conversation of my life. Jessica explained without a hint of remorse how their affair had developed. According to her, it was practically inevitable. She claimed I had been emotionally unavailable due to my work commitments, that I had left her alone too often with Tyler, that I had practically pushed them together by insisting they become friends. "You work 60-hour weeks sometimes, Chet," she said, crossing her arms defensively. "What did you expect would happen when you leave an attractive woman alone all the time?" "I expected loyalty," I said, still struggling to comprehend her reasoning. "I expected the basic respect of not sleeping with my best friend." Jessica scoffed. "Do not act so innocent. You created this situation. All men get obsessive around me. You know that. Tyler could not help himself, and you set him up to fail by bringing him around so often." The argument escalated as I pressed for details. How long had it been going on? 7 months, she admitted without hesitation. All those late nights at work, mostly spent with Tyler. The weekend conference in Chicago 3 months ago, Tyler had flown out to meet her. Then came the most shocking part of all. Jessica actually believed we should proceed with the wedding. She laid out her case as if presenting a business proposal. "Many couples deal with infidelity," she said, matter-of-factly. "We have $30,000 in non-refundable deposits. My family has bought plane tickets. We can work through this, Chet. The baby does not have to change our plans." I stared at her, speechless. Was she seriously suggesting I marry her while she was carrying my former best friend's child? "I think you are overreacting," she continued, misreading my silence. "Let me call Tyler. He can come over and we can all discuss this like adults." Before I could object, she was on the phone with him. Tyler apparently had been waiting for this call. He arrived at our house 15 minutes later, walking in without knocking, as if he belonged there. The two of them presented a united front. Tyler, the man who had been my friend for over a decade, sat on my couch and told me with a straight face that I had neglected Jessica's emotional needs. "You are always so wrapped up in your projects, man," he said, shaking his head with mock sadness. "She needed someone who would truly see her." Jessica nodded along enthusiastically. "See, Tyler gets it. You never really saw me, Chet." They revealed more details of their betrayal, seemingly oblivious to how each word was like a knife twisting deeper. Weekend trips I thought Jessica had taken with her girlfriends had actually been romantic getaways with Tyler. Times when Tyler had canceled our plans, claiming to be sick, he had actually been with Jessica. The breaking point came when Jessica looked me straight in the eye and said, "I think you should help raise this baby, Chet. It is partially your fault this happened. You owe me your support." In that moment, something inside me went very still. The pain and shock receded, replaced by a strange clarity. I looked at these two people I had once loved and trusted and saw them for what they truly were. "I need some air," I said, standing up. Both of them protested, saying we needed to figure this out tonight, but I was already heading for the door. "Where are you going?" Jessica called after me, suddenly sounding less confident. "Away from here," I answered simply, and closed the door behind me. I checked into a hotel downtown, a place we had once considered for our wedding guests. The irony was not lost on me. Alone in that generic room staring at the ceiling, I tried to make sense of how my life had imploded in less than 24 hours. Sleep eluded me that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Jessica's casual expression as she destroyed our future, heard Tyler's voice justifying their betrayal. By sunrise, I had made my decision. This was not something I could or would try to work through. The relationship was over. My first calls were to the wedding venue and vendors. Most expressed sympathy when I explained the situation, though none could offer refunds at this late date. I authorized my credit card to be charged for the remaining balances, wanting to close this chapter completely. Throughout the day, Jessica bombarded me with messages. They ranged from angry, "I cannot believe you are throwing away 3 years over one mistake," to manipulative, "I am pregnant and scared, and you are abandoning me," to bizarrely hopeful. "When you calm down, we can discuss this rationally." I read them all but responded to none. Friends began texting me confused. Jessica had already taken to social media, portraying herself as the victim. According to her public posts, I had abandoned her in her time of need and was punishing her for one indiscretion. She conveniently left out that the indiscretion was a 7-month affair with my best friend that had resulted in pregnancy. By afternoon, I was sitting in a lawyer's office trying to understand my financial obligations. The consultation brought one piece of good news: the house was solely in my name. Jessica had always had excuses for why her name should not be on the mortgage. What I had once interpreted as her fear of commitment now seemed like calculated self-interest. "You are not married yet. So legally this is straightforward," the lawyer explained. "She has no claim to your property. Given that she has another place to go, you can request that she move out immediately, though 30 days' notice would be standard courtesy." When I knew Jessica would be at work, I returned home to pack essential belongings. What I found there only confirmed my decision. Now that I was looking for evidence of their affair, it was everywhere. A drawer in our guest room contained gifts Tyler had given her hidden among seasonal decorations. Their text exchanges were saved in a password-protected folder on our shared laptop, the password being his birthday. Most damning of all was Jessica's private journal, which she had carelessly left in her nightstand. I would never normally have read it, but under the circumstances, I needed to know the full truth. The journal detailed not just their affair, but Jessica's calculated plans for our future. She had contemplated leaving me for Tyler, but decided my financial stability made me the better long-term choice. She planned to have me financially support her regardless of the affair. There were actual pro and con lists, comparing Tyler and me, with my income and home ownership in the pro column for me and Tyler's passion and sexual chemistry in his. I photographed these pages before replacing the journal exactly where I found it. Then I began contacting our mutual friends to explain my side before Jessica's narrative took hold. The responses were mixed. Some expressed shock and support, while others seemed to have already accepted Jessica's version of events. A few suggested I consider forgiveness, that many marriages survive infidelity. I realized these people had never truly been my friends. My family rallied around me. They had never completely warmed to Jessica, sensing something off about her enthusiasm for wedding planning, but disinterest in actual marriage preparations. My mother offered to come stay with me, but I needed space to process everything alone. 2 days after the initial text, I received a message from an unexpected source, Allison, Tyler's girlfriend of 2 years. "I just found out everything," she wrote. "Can we meet? I think we both need answers." We met at a coffee shop downtown. Allison was devastated, having discovered the affair through messages on Tyler's laptop. Like me, she had been completely blindsided. Unlike Jessica and Tyler, she showed genuine remorse for a situation she had no part in creating. "I feel so stupid," she said, wiping tears. All those late work nights, those weekend trips with friends. I believed everything. Together we pieced together more of the timeline. The affair had started at a company holiday party where Jessica had shown up unexpectedly to surprise me, but I had been called away to handle an emergency with a project. Apparently Tyler had comforted her, and things had escalated from there. Allison and I decided to confront them together. We arranged to meet at a public cafe, knowing neither Jessica nor Tyler would make a scene in front of others. When they arrived and saw us sitting together, their faces registered identical expressions of shock and then calculation. "What is this ambush about?" Jessica demanded, sliding into the booth beside me rather than Tyler, an obvious tactical choice. "We know everything," I said simply. "We have seen the messages, the gifts, the journal entries. We know this was not a one-time mistake, but a calculated, ongoing betrayal." Jessica's face flushed red. "You read my private journal. That is an invasion of privacy." Allison laughed bitterly. "That is what you are concerned about. Not the 7-month invasion of our relationship." Tyler attempted damage control, reaching for Allison's hand, which she quickly withdrew. "Babe, it just happened. We did not mean to hurt anyone. Affairs do not just happen," I said. "They require thousands of decisions to lie and betray the people who trust you." The confrontation continued, growing increasingly heated, as both Jessica and Tyler realized their carefully constructed narratives were falling apart. Jessica made one last desperate attempt, turning to me with tears in her eyes. "I still love you, Chet. The baby does not change that. We can raise it together. I made a mistake, but you owe me another chance." "I owe you nothing," I said, standing up to leave. "A formal letter from my lawyer requesting you move out within 30 days will arrive tomorrow." As Allison and I walked out together, Jessica called after us, still maintaining I was to blame for everything. "If you had been a better fiancé, this would not have happened. You set this whole situation up. That was the last direct conversation we had." After Jessica moved out, taking only her personal belongings and leaving behind all the furniture and household items we had purchased together, I changed the locks and security system. Her final text to me read, "You will regret this. No one will ever love you like I did." I realized then that what Jessica had offered was not love at all. The first few months after Jessica moved out were the hardest. I struggled with self-doubt, replaying our relationship in my mind, wondering if there was truth to her accusations. Had I been emotionally unavailable? Had I somehow created the conditions that led to their affair? My therapist, whom I began seeing weekly, helped me recognize these thoughts as the result of Jessica's gaslighting. "You are not responsible for someone else's choice to betray you," she reminded me in our sessions. "No matter what issues might have existed in your relationship, infidelity is a choice, not an inevitable outcome." Gradually, I began to reclaim my home, removing reminders of Jessica. I repainted walls, rearranged furniture, and replaced the mattress we had shared. Each change helped me feel more in control, more myself again. Through my therapist's recommendation, I joined a support group for people who had experienced infidelity and narcissistic abuse. Hearing others' stories helped me recognize patterns in Jessica's behavior that I had overlooked or excused. The entitlement, the lack of empathy, the constant shifting of blame. In the safe space of that group, I began to heal. I also reconnected with friends who had drifted away during my relationship with Jessica. Looking back, I realized she had subtly isolated me from people who might have questioned her behavior or motives. My college roommate, Mark, confessed he had always felt unwelcome around Jessica, but had not wanted to say anything. "She always made it clear you were her territory," he explained over beers one night. "If anyone got too close to you, she would find ways to undermine that relationship." 6 months after our breakup, I heard through mutual friends that Jessica and Tyler's relationship was already falling apart. Apparently, the fantasy of their affair did not translate well to the reality of day-to-day life and impending parenthood. Their social media accounts became battlegrounds of passive-aggressive posts and thinly veiled accusations. Tyler had begun to recognize the same manipulative patterns in Jessica that I had experienced. But their drama no longer affected me. My focus had shifted entirely to rebuilding my life and rediscovering who I was outside of that relationship. I had always enjoyed outdoor activities, but Jessica had discouraged many of them as taking time away from her. Now I returned to hiking and tried mountain biking for the first time, finding unexpected joy in the challenge and the community of riders. Through the biking club I met Rachel, a pediatric physical therapist with a quick wit and genuine warmth. Unlike my whirlwind romance with Jessica, Rachel and I built a friendship, first biking together with groups for months before I asked her to dinner. When I eventually shared what had happened with Jessica, Rachel listened without judgment. "That must have been incredibly painful," she said simply. "Thank you for trusting me enough to share it." That response exemplified the difference between a healthy relationship and what I had experienced before. Rachel showed consistent empathy, respected boundaries, and demonstrated integrity in her actions, not just her words. 1 year after the text that had changed everything, I made the decision to sell the house. Despite my efforts to reclaim it, there were too many memories embedded in its walls. I found a smaller place closer to downtown with a rooftop deck and space for my new bike collection. It felt entirely mine in a way the old house never had after Jessica left. The most important lesson I learned through this experience was to trust my instincts. There had been red flags with Jessica from the beginning, warning signs I had chosen to ignore or rationalize away. Her dismissiveness toward my friends and family, her need to be the center of attention, her selective memory about promises made. I had attributed these to personality quirks, rather than recognizing them as indicators of deeper character issues. I now understand that the betrayal was never about my inadequacy, but about Jessica and Tyler's moral failings. Their choices reflected who they were, not who I was. That realization freed me from the burden of self-blame that Jessica had worked so hard to instill. Today, I am grateful for the text message that exposed the truth before I committed my life to someone incapable of genuine love or loyalty. As painful as that moment was, it spared me years or even decades of betrayal and gaslighting. Sometimes the most painful endings lead to the most beautiful beginnings. Have you ever had someone blame you for their betrayal? Share your experience in the comments below. Your story might help others recognize they are not alone. Do not forget to like and subscribe for more stories about overcoming life's unexpected challenges. Thank you for listening to my journey, and remember, you deserve honesty and respect in every relationship. If you found value in my story, please share it with someone who might need to hear it today.